Well, thank you very much. We've had already a good meeting. We're going to decide to do a little lunch. It wasn't scheduled, but we are going to do it on the fly because we have a tremendous chemistry together. The Prime Minister of Iraq has been amazing. He won an election that a lot of people didn't anticipate could be won by anybody else other than another person who was not, in my opinion, a good person. Not good for America. I don't think good for Iraq. And I played a role in, it was very important to me to have somebody get in there that can do the job and do it well. And we have a fantastic champion, a new champion. And he won the election very soundly, very conclusively, and he wasn't favored. But by the time they got to know him, he ended up winning. And he's going to be there for a long time. So I just want to say it's a great honor to have the Prime Minister of Iraq with us. He's been a great fighter and he's been a great fan of America. We'll be discussing that a little bit with you, but they have tremendous oil reserves. They have tremendous potential wealth, and they have tremendous wealth, not only potential. But he's done in a short period of time, he's changed that country so much, especially toward their thinking about the United States. And we have partnerships. Chris was just saying we have tremendous oil partnerships all of a sudden being formed over the last short period of time, and I guess you're going to be announcing them this week or next week, but massive, among the largest. So they have done a fantastic job over the last very short period of time, but they have a great leader, the new Prime Minister. He's a great leader. I think he's going to be there for a long period of time, and it's great to have you at the White House. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And he's a young man. He's young and he's handsome, which I don't like. I'm not happy about that.
شكرا جزيلا. لقد عقدنا اجتماعا جيدا وقد دعوته إلى وجبة الغداء، وهذا لم يكن ضمن البرنامج والجدول الذي اتفقنا عليه، لكن هنالك كيمياء عظيمة بيننا وبينهم. رئيس الوزراء يقوم بعمل رائع. أنا لم يتوقع أحد أنه سيفوز في هذه الانتخابات، لكن المرشح المضاد له كان شخص لم يعجبني ولم تكن لديه آراء جيدة تجاه أمريكا، لكن كان من المهم جدا لي أن تفوزوا أنتم في هذه الانتخابات، وأنتم تقومون بعمل رائع جدا. والآن لدينا فائز جديد لم تكن حظوظه كبيرة، لكنه مع ذلك نجح في هذه الانتخابات. هو شرف عظيم بالنسبة لي أن أستضيف دولة رئيس الوزراء هنا في البيت الأبيض. هو محارب عظيم، وهو أيضا من المعجبين بأمريكا والولايات المتحدة. العراق طبعا دولة غنية لديها كثير من الاحتياطات النفطية، وهي دولة مليئة بالثروات، وفي وقت قصير تمكنتم من القيام بالكثير وتغيير، على الأقل تغيير شعور العراقيين تجاه أمريكا. وكما قال كريس وزير النفط وأشار إلى ذلك، أن هنالك صفقات تجارية كبيرة في مجال النفط سوف يتم الإعلان عنها هذا الأسبوع. أنتم تقومون بعمل رائع وقمتم بعمل رائع خلال وقت قصير. رئيس الوزراء طبعا هو أيضا قائد عظيم، وأعتقد أنكم ستخدمون في هذا المنصب لمدة طويلة. طبعا أنتم في مقتبل العمر أنتم شاب أيضا ووسيم، وهذا طبعا لا يعجبني، لكن مع ذلك يشرفني أن أستضيفكم هنا.
Please, thank you. أشكر حفاوة الاستقبال إلى فخامة الرئيس دونالد ترامب.
Thank you for the warm welcome by His Excellency President Trump.
وهذه هي زيارتي الأولى
This is my first visit
إلى الولايات المتحدة
to the
الأمريكية.
United States of America.
فهذه الزيارة لم تكن زيارة عابرة،
This visit was not just like any visit,
وإنما زيارة إعلان شراكة اقتصادية.
rather it's an announcement of economic partnership
تحدثت مع فخامة الرئيس.
where I talked to His Excellency.
30/9 سوف تخرج القوات
By
الأمريكية،
the 30th of September, the U.S. forces will be out of Iraq,
وسوف تدخل الشركات الأمريكية.
while the U.S. companies will be inside Iraq.
ودائما تخلق العلاقة المجتمعية هي الشراكة الاقتصادية وليس العسكرية.
While the social relations is about like economy, it's not like about like military relations.
أنقل تحياتي
I would convey my greetings
من أقدم حضارة في
from
العالم
the oldest civilization in the world
إلى أكبر قلب اقتصادي
to
في
the
العالم
biggest
وتكنولوجي.
economic and technology heart in the world.
وأكرر شكري إلى فخامة
And I
الرئيس على
reiterate
حفاوة الاستقبال.
my thanks to His Excellency the President for the warm welcome.
Good. Well, thank you very much.
President.
Please.
Mr. President. I have a question for the Prime Minister.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. في مواضيع الدراسة العالمية. سمو وسعادة رئيس الوزراء هناك طلب أمريكي لحصر السلاح الميليشيات بيد الدولة وكم اجتماع لهم وعدم مهاجمة دول الجوار. هل هذه أهداف يمكن أن تتحقق قبل سبتمبر؟ Mr. President, if I may.
Who are you with?
I'm with the Arabia. I come in the East of
Okay.
Sir, is the military attack on Iran, is this a strategy to bring them back to the table? Or is it to degrade them so the regime will eventually fall?
Well, we don't think we need the military there anymore. You know, it's a very a big operation. And what we do have is the oil companies are all going in now, and they're doing partnerships with Iraq, and they're getting along very well. The relationship is a whole big relationship where we don't need the military there. We're there to help them. We're there to protect them if need be, but we don't think that's going to be necessary. And their primary, I consider an opponent, they might have considered a friend, but I consider that an opponent was Iran, was a big burden on Iraq because they were the bully of the Middle East, as you know. And we were just talking about that, but they're not going to have that problem anymore because Iran has been very much destabilized, and really their military power is just a tiny fraction of what it was just 4 months ago. So they're not going to have that problem. I think that it's really, in a sense, it's given them freedom to do what they have to do. And I think that's one of the reasons that our oil companies are going in there at levels that have never been seen before. So. You want to answer?
شكرا جزيلا على السؤال.
Thank you for your question.
ابتداء في منهاج الحكومي
According to the program of the government,
هو حصر السلاح بيد الدولة،
is to restrict the possession of weapons to the state.
وهذه نقطة أساسية
And this is a basic point.
ولدي قرار بها غير قابل للخيار.
And this is like a decision, it's not an option.
تم استلام
We received
أسلحة كثيرة من قبل بعض الفصائل،
weapons by different factions,
واللي يسلم سلاحه
and whoever surrender his weapon
ويتحول إلى جهة سياسية ومدنية.
turned into like a political or civilian.
من ناحيتنا سيتم التعاون معه.
We will cooperate with them.
بعد 30/9
After the 30th of September,
لا حاجة لوجود أي
there's
فصائل
no any need for the presence of any faction,
لكون الفصائل
because factions
هي حاجة وليس مهنة،
is a need, it's not a profession.
وماكو مبرر لبقائهم بعد
There's no
30/9.
any justification for their existence after the 30th of September.
إن شاء الله نهاية هذا العام أو بداية العام
So hopefully
القابل
by the end of this year or by the beginning of the next year,
سوف نعلن أكبر مؤتمر السيادة الوطني.
the sovereignty conference is the biggest conference in the region.
قرار العراق بيد العراقيين،
The Iraqi decision is by the hand of the Iraqis only,
وقواتنا الأمنية قادرة على حماية
and
أراضيها.
our security forces are capable of protecting their borders.
بعد 30/9
After the 30th of September,
لا نسمح لأي جهة تحمل سلاح خارج
we
نطاق
never
الدولة.
accept for any entity to carry weapons outside the control of a state.
Thank you, President Trump. I have two questions. I was wondering if you could explain your changing thinking on the Strait of Hormuz, applying a 20% fee. How did you get to the decision you just announced?
So when I put that out yesterday, because we've been doing that for many, many years, it was never fair to me that we would be guarding the strait when we basically don't take anything, we don't need the oil at all. And it wasn't important for us, but it was important for allies. It was important for people that we get along with very well, including the major Gulf state countries. So I put it out yesterday. I thought it was good. I was called by different people, different countries, kings and emirs and all of the people that we all know and we all love, and they've been very strong partners. And they said, we'd love to do it a different way. We'd love to invest in the United States with billions and billions of dollars and continue our record setting, because there's never been a time like this with the United States, with the factories, with the plants, with everything else. And we would like to invest tremendously in the United States as opposed to charging a fee. And I like that, actually, because I don't think anybody should be able to charge a fee for the strait or for any other straight relationship in terms of other sections of the world. I don't think anybody should be really in that position. But we were doing it as a reimbursement. The Gulf states are going to invest a tremendous amount of money into the United States, and that was very satisfactory to me. I think it's actually much better.
If I could also ask, are you aware of why the FBI is looking into Senator Graham's death? Have you gotten any updates on why they were at his home?
Well, I don't know why, because I think, he had a problem. His father had a very similar problem, as you know. It's very unique. At first I heard it was clogged arteries, because he did have clogged arteries. He had a problem with that. He was, I wish he took better care of himself. I say, you can solve that problem, but what happened is actually something that's very hard to detect. It was not related to any blockage. It was a totally different thing. And supposedly, and I've watched all the medical reports, I've had the doctors from the White House come in and explain what happened. And this is something that is almost undetectable. And if it happens, there's not much you can do about it. Sounds unfortunate, but there's not much you can do about it. If you look at his father died of the same thing at about the same age. So there was not much. They say it's almost undetectable. You can detect it by if you have a very bad back. That's a sign. It's a bad sign. So if anybody has a bad back, it's a pretty rough thing to think about. But the fact that's one of the primary signs. And he would tell me he had a bad back. But little did anyone realize it was for that. So, and when that bursts, which it did, it burst. There's not much. So I don't see a lot of evil there. I know there's all sorts of conspiracy theories going along, and I don't think the FBI. I think the FBI is wasting their time if they're doing that. Yeah.
Just on the prior question, the Hormuz Strait whole idea for you, that's dead now. That's completely gone.
No, I just told you have Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait, primarily, and then others. I spoke to all of them, and they would love to invest more money in the United States at record amounts, and that would be very acceptable. And this way, there's no fee. I don't like the concept of a fee, but at the same time, it's not fair that we're protecting this strait for the entire world, for China and everyone. I don't mind protecting it for China. I don't mind protecting it for anybody, but it's unfair that we're not in somehow compensated. And we've been doing this for many years. It's bothered me 25 years ago. It bothered me. During my first term, I was doing things like you have to invest in the United States. But by doing it that way, there's no fee. They're investing and they're getting a return on their money, and it's good. But they're going to be making massive investments into the United States, and I like that much better.
Can I ask you a bit about the meeting you had today, whether you discussed OPEC? There's been some reporting that Iraq is pushing for changes to OPEC, a larger share, and even that they might consider leaving it over.
That's the gentleman right here, because here he is. Would you like to know about it?
Are you considering, Mr. Prime Minister, leaving OPEC, or are you pushing for changes within it? And Mr. President, would you support
well, I support him.
For changes?
I supported him very early I endorsed him, something I rarely do, but I've had great successes endorsing. We just had Colombia, which was a big one. Argentina was a big one. We had many. I've endorsed, I think everybody I've endorsed from a foreign standpoint. They just win. Yeah. And, I've been hearing great things. I'm a student of a lot of history, and I do know a lot about the history of Iraq, and I've watched what was happening in Iraq with the elections, and I put a very strong endorsement out because I was very unhappy with the man that was supposed to win the election. And this great gentleman, I think he's going to end up being a great leader. He won. So I'm very happy about that. As far as OPEC, that's his decision, and you might ask him that question.
لا أوبك إحنا أحد البلدان المؤسسة لها.
We are one of the countries that established OPEC.
لكن نريد حقنا وحصة منصفة للعراق.
We need like a fair share for Iraq.
العراق حارب داعش
Iraq fought ISIS
والإرهاب بأجمعه
and terrorism at all.
وبدعم الولايات المتحدة
Support
الأمريكية.
of the United States of America.
وهذه الحرب مع داعش
This fight with ISIS
كلفتنا نفقات
it
كبيرة
cost us like huge amounts of money
ودمرت البنى التحتية
and
العراقية.
destroyed the Iraqi infrastructure.
مقدار الضرر اللي أصاب
The
العراق
damage that really was against Iraq
أكثر من 400 مليار دولار.
is more than $400 billion.
لليوم بعض العراقيين مدن مدمرة
Until today, like some Iraqi cities are totally destroyed.
ويسكنون في
They
مخيمات.
like live in camps.
والآن لدي خطة أعيدهم إلى
I
دورهم.
have a plan to get them back to their homes.
نريد حصة منصفة
We
للعراق
need
لا,
a fair share.
لا أكثر من
We
ذلك.
need a fair share.
I might just answer because if you remember, even though I was a civilian and had no thought of running for president, I get a disproportionate amount of publicity, as you probably heard. And I used to say, don't go into Iraq. Don't attack Iraq. Frankly, they attacked the wrong country. And they did a lot of damage. Yeah.
Thank you. Given how the Iranians have been behaving, do you have any regrets about lifting the naval blockade or giving the sanctions
No.
waivers?
No, I gave them a chance. I wanted to give them a chance at making a deal. You know, we had a deal 2 days ago. It was done. And then all of a sudden, they couldn't do it. They didn't like something about the deal. They couldn't do it. And they shot first. And that was a big mistake that they shot first because we have been knocking the hell out of them. They're very difficult people. 47 years we put up with it. The SS Cole, you go back all the way, thousands of people, thousands of Americans were killed, a lot of soldiers were killed. A lot of soldiers are walking around or not walking around. I mean, they've been so badly injured. The arms, the legs, the face, with the Soleimani, with the bomb. They call it the roadside bomb. Most people call it the roadside bomb. It's a disaster. And I killed him in my first administration. Had I not, it might be a different story today. He was a mad genius. He was probably a madman, but he was a general, and he had total control over the country. And I actually think the leaders of Iran were afraid of Soleimani. But I killed him. And by the way, with him went a very bad person also. They happened to be meeting each other at the airport. And a very bad person from Iraq happened to be a leader of Iraq, happened to be killed in that same incident. So I don't know if I did you a favor or not. I've never asked you that question. You probably would know better than me. But no, I think that what we've done to Iran is we've taken away almost all of their military capability. Go ahead, you explain it. Explain it. Hold on. He has to hear that. Go ahead.
هو بيسأل عن قاسم سليماني وانه كيف تم قتله على يده في الولايه الاولى له في عندما كان رئيسا للولايات المتحده. فالفكره هو طبعا كان شخص ذكي جدا وعبقري لكنه كان شرير بنهايه المطاف. في حادث استهداف وقتل عراقي كان في صحبته، كانوا يلتقوا في مطار في العراق في بغداد. فهو بيسأل هل هو كان عملكم خدمة أم لا؟ ما هي النظرة بالنسبة لمقتل سليماني؟
أنا في ذاك الوقت لا أمارس
At
السياسة.
that time, I was not in politics.
وأريد كل جايتين نتحدث عن المستقبل إيش راح
In
نسوي.
my visit, I'd like to talk about the future.
شبعانين من ماضينا
Because
القديم.
now, we are fed up with the past.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Kurdi, sir. Mr. President, thank you for your time. Last year in May, the Prime Minister of Kurdistan region, Masroor Barzani, signed about $110 billion in energy deals with U.S. companies here in Washington, D.C. Mr. President, if Baghdad and Erbil work together better, that investment could grow. What is your message and advice to the leaders in Baghdad and Erbil to work together? Why I'm asking this question? Because you are our miracle makers, Mr. President.
I love this question. It's my favorite question so far, by far. Thank you very much for the question. Look, Baghdad, I think, and I and this country, we're going to make some tremendous music together. We haven't been dealing very much over the last 4 or 5 years with the previous administration. Iraq has tremendous potential because of their oil and because of other things, but because of their oil. And we're going to be doing a lot of deals. We're going to create a lot of jobs for both countries, and we're going to be taking out a lot of oil. A lot of oil is coming out, and the American companies are doing it. Mostly American companies now. They don't want to do business with others. They want to do business with America, and that's good. And that's one of the reasons that I felt so strongly that this was going to be a great prime minister, and I fought for that.
Another question for Prime Minister. How would you describe your relationship with Kurdistan regional government at this time? Because Prime Minister yesterday had a statement and fully support you.
كيف ترون علاقتكم مع كردستان اليوم بين السيد رئيس الوزراء؟
أنا أنظر للعراق جسد،
I look at Iraq as a body.
وكل رقعة جغرافية في العراق هي عضو من
And
جسدي.
each part of Iraq is part of my own body.
فما راح أميز عضو عن
So
آخر،
I would never distinguish between any organ,
ولا يمكن أن أقطع جزء من جسدي بيدي.
and I cannot cut off any part of any organ from my own body.
كردستان جزء مهم من العراق،
Kurdistan is such an important part of Iraq,
لا يختلفون عن البصرة وعن المحافظات
no
الأخرى.
different than Basra and other provinces.
But because such nice things were said about him, that means he likes the man that said those nice things. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I have a question for you and I have a question for Prime Minister.
Go ahead.
The first question, Mr. Prime Minister, why did you choose the United States as your first trade abroad? And what steps, concrete steps, do you take when you go back to Iraq to make sure that the agreements you are reaching in Washington, D.C. implemented?
أنا ورثت بلد ثقيل،
I inherited such a heavy burden country.
وأنا كماجستير مالية
I have a master's degree in finance.
حللت الوضع الاقتصادي
I
للبلد.
analyzed the economic situation of the country.
هذا الثقل يراد معي شريك استراتيجي يحمله معي،
This burden, I need such a strategic partner to really lift this burden.
وأهم شريك استراتيجي في
The
العالم
most important strategic partnership in the
هو الولايات
world
المتحدة الأمريكية.
is the United States of America.
فلم تكن زيارتي عابرة أو من فراغ،
It wasn't just like any visit or I came out of
ولم تكن عاطفية وإنما
It's not
عقلية.
emotional, it's about mind.
Inflation slowed to 3.5%.
Yeah, thank you.
Will this trend hold now that strikes on Iran?
I think so. I think it's going to, inflation's down. We inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. They say 48 years. It was the worst in the history of our country from Biden, Sleepy Joe. He might have been sleepy, but boy, he could create inflation like nobody. And I inherited that, and I got blamed for it, and it's not my fault. We are putting it to sleep. And we've done a great job, Scott and Howard and Marco and even Pete, because he's watching his dollars, right? But they've done a fantastic job. We've all done a fantastic job. So we had the worst inflation in history and the history of our country. I mean, we had months where it was 9 and 10%. And now we have a report just came out. It was just released. Thank you for bringing it up. But the report was incredible. Inflation is way down. That means prices are coming way down. And we're doing a great job. And remember that for the midterms. I say to that camera, remember that because nobody else could do it. Prices are way down. Prices are coming way down, and we're going to bring them much lower yet.
Okay. Around the world and around the nation, are we anticipating your big announcement on Thursday night regarding election machines and integrity? Can you give us sort of a sneak peek about what to expect? And tell
Well, I'd rather save it. It will concern that subject, and we'll have a couple of other things to say also. But I'd rather save it, but it's really big news. It's really, really big news. And our country has to shape up. But that's what we're going to be talking about Thursday is it doesn't get bigger. Because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. We'll be discussing other things too, but it's going to be a very big announcement. Yeah?
Mr. President, your administration pushed hard to shape Iraq's leadership and tied U.S. support to disarming Iran-backed factions. With the September 15th deadline weeks away, what happening in Baghdad misses it, And does the U.S. troops withdrawal from Kurdistan region still proceed on schedule?
I think everything's on schedule. We have a great, here we are. I mean, we're right now, I even called for a lunch that wasn't scheduled, okay? So in that way, but no, I don't think I've ever done that where we didn't have lunch. I said, let's have lunch. You know why? Because I like them.
At least in lunch.
I like them. So I think that's all going to work out very well. Yeah, please.
Sir, do you want this Russia sanctions bill signed within the next week or two, and will you sign it?
Well, I know that Lindsay wanted it very badly. I think they may be adding Iran to it. They're going to add Iran, which is a very big thing. If they did that, they may add Hezbollah too. Just put them if you do business with Hezbollah. So we're looking at that, but they're seriously thinking, and this is in honor of Lindsay. This was his thing. He wanted this more than any other thing. You know how he felt. And there's a good chance that it gets done, but they'd like to add Iran, and they'd like to add Hezbollah to it. That's what I'm hearing. So.
And if that means secondary sanctions on China, India, Europe...
Well, we'll have to look. That hasn't been discussed.
My question for you, the Prime Minister, al-Zaidi, has launched a campaign to pay buildings held by militia under the control of the state. How does your administration support him to accomplish this vision? And my second question, how do you envision the future relations between Kurdistan region and Iraq?
I think everything is going to work out. I think the Middle East, believe it or not, is coming together. We're getting rid of the bully of the Middle East. Iran was the bully of the Middle East. They bullied Iraq. They bullied every country. There was fear all over the Middle East with other countries. I understand that, but there was fear. But there's no fear anymore because their military capability has been knocked to hell, and there's no fear. I think the Middle East is coming together like it's never come together before. You can't have a dominant factor like Iran that would kill 52,000 protesters. You know, they killed. Nobody likes talking about that. I don't like talking about it. They killed 52,000 protesters. So the bottom line, all regions, I believe, are coming together. And I think this is going to be one of the great leaders right here. It's going to be one of the great leaders in the Middle East. Go ahead, please. Just explain that, please.
أعتقد أنه الآن الشرق الأوسط قد تم ترتيب أوضاعه لأنه إيران ضعفت الآن وهي كانت تتنمر على الجميع فالآن انتهى هذا الدور ولا يمكن أن نسمح لقوة واحدة أو بلد واحد بأن يهيمن على كامل المنطقة يعني الناس يغفلون عن أن إيران كذلك الحكومة الإيرانية قتلت 52,000 متظاهر في إيران طبعا نحن لا يمكننا أن نحن لا نتحدث عن ذلك وأنا نفسي يعني أنا الرئيس أكره أن أفكر في هذا الأمر لكنهم كذلك والآن انتهى هذا الدور ولم يعد لإيران أي دور في التنمر على أي من جيرانهم.
And I think we could go into this for a long time. And the bottom line is that we have a fantastic relationship with many countries now. I just came back from NATO. Many of you were there, and you saw how that worked out. It was a phenomenal. It was a love fest, to be honest, and they love the United States. They even like me, but they love the United States. And we're going to cut costs there by hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe. But the NATO event was incredible. Today's event is incredible. This is a potentially really great country, and many people would say it's a great country. We're helping it. We want to help it. We have a fantastic relationship with the new Prime Minister. He's a strong person. He's a very brilliant guy. He's very much acknowledged, or he couldn't have won that election. That was a highly competitive election, and he went out and won, and it's a big story. I mean, it's a big, big story. And I just want to say that the United States has never done better. We're doing well. You know, more people are working today in the United States than at any time in history. We have more things being built. Factories, plants, AI, automobile plants are being built at record numbers, more than we've ever had ever before. The tariffs have been used very judiciously and properly, and companies are pouring in, and countries are pouring into this country to build factories, because when they build them, they have no tariffs. And we have numbers, $19.2 trillion. As an example, under Biden, it was less than $1 trillion for 4 years. We're at $19.2 trillion for 12 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Our relationship with Iraq is, I would say, it went from being not so good to being outstanding. And we're going to have a long-term relationship with Iraq. We're going to have a long-term relationship with a man that will be a great leader. Mark my words. I knew what I was doing. This man is going to be a great leader in the Middle East, beyond Iraq. His influence is going to spread all throughout the Middle East, and we're very happy about it, and we are very happy to have you with us. Thank you very much. I don't think there's anything much else you can ask us. This is a very important meeting. It's something I've never done before. No lunch was scheduled. I said, let's have lunch. I've never done that before. Sometimes we'll have a lunch scheduled, but I've never done this. Right, Susie? This is a first. So I have no idea what we're going to be eating, but it'll be fine. But we're doing it because we like the people that we're with. Thank you very much.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now World.